Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you a very gorgeous traditional Christmas wreath made with a faux evergreen wreath, a gorgeous velvet and Christmas plaid bow, red berries, natural pine cones, and mixed Christmas greens. I love a traditional Christmas wreath, and I wanted to do a traditional wreath tutorial for those of you who love a traditional wreath as well. I think this one is beautiful, and it's actually very easy to make. The bow is the most challenging element of the wreath, but I did a very detailed bow tutorial in this video. So hopefully that will help you. If not, maybe you have a bow dabra or an easy bow maker to help you along with that process. I used a 24-inch faux evergreen wreath from Hobby Lobby. I love their faux evergreen wreaths. They're very full, they're very soft, and I think they're very well constructed. They are $13.99 at 50% off. It's only $7 for that wreath base. And I think that's very reasonable for such a good quality wreath. So I picked up a number of different types of Christmas greens picks. They have various different types of greenery for Christmas decor. I got 2 of those picks, and everything is, of course, 50% off at Hobby Lobby. This is a different kind of a pick, so I wanted different textures, different shades of green, different types of greenery. Here's another type of greenery, a little bit of a lighter green. That's what you want for this piece. You want different shades of green. Here's another Christmas greenery. It's a frosted type of eucalyptus. Really adds a nice color to the wreath. And I love these picks for an evergreen wreath to insert in a faux evergreen wreath. That's what makes this type of wreath beautiful, is adding in those extra green Christmas greens. Okay, so you'll want to find those at Hobby Lobby, or I know Michael's has them as well, but I think Hobby Lobby has the best prices on that, being that they're 50% off. I picked my own pine cones off the ground. I happen to have access to those types of trees. So to make sure that you get the bugs out, just soak them in an equal mixture of vinegar and water, and then just dry them. And that will be sure to take out any bugs that might be in there. I believe I have 5 picks of these berry stems. That's what's going to add a lot of color to the wreath. Dollar Tree also has some pretty berries. These are a little bit bigger, and they're sugary or frosted. Those are very pretty too. They also have some pretty Christmas greenery picks at Dollar Tree. Check that out, because they have some really pretty ones that would go very well in this wreath. I have here this beautiful wired velvet ribbon from Hobby Lobby, 50% off. Very beautiful ribbon. That's going to be the base of the bow. And then I have this beautiful Christmas plaid. Now, you could use any ribbon you like with this. I just always think of this plaid as being, very traditional Christmas. And it does make a really stunning looking wreath. So I'm using 2 different types of ribbon. And as I mentioned, I'm going to do a detailed tutorial on how to make the bow. I have there a few full-size red pipe cleaners. Now you will need a glue gun. Also, some floral wire will be helpful to put on the pine cones. Okay, so I'm going to start by opening up my wreath. Right now, it's all kind of smashed. That's what it's like when you purchase it. So you have to take the time to really shape it, open up the evergreen pieces on there, and just make it as full as possible and symmetrical as possible. Open it up toward the inside, toward the top, and toward the outside. So you want to go ahead and take a few minutes to do that. And now I'm going to start to apply some of my filler greenery. Now, there's a stark contrast between the greens, but I like that. I think that adds a lot of visual interest to the piece. So I picked up about 5 of these. They're like frosted kind of eucalyptus. And I'm going to insert those around the wreath. Now, I'm going to keep in mind that I'm going to have a large bow at 6 o'clock on this wreath. And all of my my stems and everything that I put on this wreath are going to be following a clockwise direction. So right there by my hand is right around 6 o'clock. And that's where I'm going to put the bow. So I don't need to put too much right there because it'll just be covered up by the bow. So I'm going to go ahead and now there are certain pieces of greenery that you can just simply take one of the little evergreen pieces that comes on that wreath and just wrap it around the stem and just use that as your means to attach. Those particular pieces will attach very well by just taking one of the evergreen stems, wrapping around the base of the eucalyptus stem, and again, following a clockwise direction around the wreath. So I just place those at different locations, spaced pretty evenly around the wreath. Now, Hobby Lobby does have another wreath that looks like this with a bit more of different types of Christmas greenery. It is more in cost. I don't want to say how much it is because I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's more expensive simply because it's more embellished. Now, you could look for that, and then you'll have less greenery to add on, or maybe you'll feel that that amount of extra greenery is enough. But look in the department with all of the wreaths, and they also as well have wreaths with the lighting on them at 50% off. So I think that they have a phenomenal Christmas department. So just check around and see what you can find that's suitable for your traditional wreath there. Maybe you want lights on yours. Maybe you just want to buy the one that they have with the extra greenery on it. And then maybe you could even add a bit more greenery to that. It's just a matter of preference. Just look around at Hobby Lobby and see what you can find. Now I'm going to go about adding some of this. I don't know what you call that greenery, but it's very Christmassy. And I just take my wire cutters and snip off sections of that stem of greenery and place it around the wreath, again in a clockwise fashion. All the way around, leaving open that 6 o'clock space. Now this one has really pretty greenery, including some really pretty pine cones. So I'm going to snip off a few pieces of that. I didn't use all of those pieces, but I do add that Christmas greenery on because as you can see, it's different than the base wreath greenery. And so that any kind of time you add texture and different shades of the green, that's what's really going to make your wreath pop and look very high end. So be sure to have some good wire cutters on hand. There's another type of greenery. I'm going to add in every different type of greenery that I have because I know the value of that and how beautiful that can make your wreath look. It's a world of difference between that with all of the extra fillers that you put on it and just the basic wreath. Not to say that you can't create this wreath with just the basic faux evergreen wreath, you can, but I'm just telling you, this is how to make it look more high-end. This is how to make it look more visually interesting to the eye. And it's just very, very, very beautiful with the extra textures and colors on there. Now here's another greenery. This is a very popular greenery to use on Christmas decor. So I picked up a stem of that. I'm just going to cut it in sections, add it on. Anything that I can wrap a evergreen piece that's on the wreath around the lower part of the stem, I do. But some of those I'm going to have to hot glue. Now I try to keep that to a minimum if I can. And when I hot glue, I make sure I do it so the hot glue is down deep inside of the wreath. The reason why I try to keep the glue to a minimum is I tend to, from year to year, have a habit of recycling my wreaths. And the truth is if you get you can even peel off the hot glue if you want to from year to year. Just better if you don't have to do too much of it. Okay, so I'm continuing to put on my greenery here. And again, this is a little bit different type. Now, Dollar Tree has packages of greenery that looks very much like that one in my hand there. So you could pick up some greenery at the Dollar Tree. It looks very much like that. This is a really pretty one. It's very soft and just a super beautiful Christmas greenery. Now you find this Christmas greenery in the aisle at Hobby Lobby where they have all of the picks that you either do wreath making with or that you put in your Christmas tree or any type of swag or centerpiece or anything that you're making for Christmas. So they usually have a good supply of that. But I wouldn't wait too long if you intend to make this wreath, because that's one of the things they tend to sell out of first is the greenery. A lot of people use that for centerpieces and to do exactly what I'm doing here. So I wouldn't wait too long for those kind of things because everybody's crafting right now. This is the time to do it. Everyone's anticipating, after Thanksgiving is when the decorating begins. So don't hesitate. If you think you want to make this wreath, get to Hobby Lobby, 50% off. And they have beautiful wreath-making supplies there. Now, that is that package of greenery. I just wanted to show it to you. I didn't use that, but it's a very good substitute for the Hobby Lobby greenery. If you have a problem finding it, they have that at the Dollar Tree. They also have some other picks that are very, very pretty as well. Some frosted ones, really pretty. All right, so my wreath is starting to take shape here, the way I envisioned it. Lots of extra greenery on there. Okay, now I am going to make a very big, very beautiful bow. If you are not interested in watching me make yet another bow, just fast forward over this. But I highly urge you, if you would like to seriously make an attempt to create a beautiful bow, I am going to break it down for you and explain it the best way I can. I am going to make the base of my bow. I'm going to use two ribbons, this velvet and the plaid. The base of the bow is going to be the velvet wired ribbon. It's 2.5 inch. Now, I have my measuring mat underneath my hand there, so I'm going to create 16-inch tails. For my bow loops, I'm going to make those 14 inches. Now, if you need to measure, keep that measuring mat underneath you. The first thing you're going to do is pinch your tail, and then you're going to fold over that 14 inches of ribbon. And you're going to pinch it in between your index finger and your thumb. That's loop number 1 on the left side. Now you're going to twist that ribbon because there is a good side to this velvet ribbon. You're going to take that same 14 inches. Now, if you want, you can put your ribbon down to measure every loop if that's what is beneficial to you to do. Or you can just get your first loop at the 14 inches and then measure up your loops to that first one that you did every time you create a loop. I'll show you how I do that. I do that visually. I don't really measure anymore. I've been doing this like that. You see how you can measure up any of your loops that you do from here on out now that you measured the first one? Okay, now we have one loop on each side. Holding it secure in the middle, I'm going to twist my ribbon. Okay, this is going to enable me when I fold it over to have the right side of the ribbon facing up, or the correct side. Pinch it in the center with my thumb and my index finger right there. See how I use both of my hands for that pinching process in the middle? Now I have two loops, and see how I matched it up? Now I was a little bit big, so all I had to do was pull that ribbon back a little bit, decrease the size of the loop. Now I go back with my fingers and match it up to that loop that I know is 14 inches. And that's how I know I'm getting my loops symmetrical to one another. All right, now second loop on the right side. I twist my ribbon, fold over the 14 inches, pinch it right in the center, grabbing it with my fingers there, see? Then I take my other hand, see that? Push it in, scrunch it, and then hold it firmly with my thumb and my index finger. Now that was loop number 2 on the right side. Now what I'm going to do is create loop number 3. There's going to be 3 loops on each side, or 6 loops altogether to this base bow. Now the only annoying thing about making bows is that you have to keep flipping your spool of ribbon there so it doesn't get too twisted. Okay, so now I'm going to fold over the 14 inches. Remember, twist the ribbon so you have the right side of that ribbon facing up. Now see how I have it too big there? I have it too big, so I'm just going to pull back a little bit on that ribbon. So now, see, now I have them all equal. Very easy to do. If you overestimate, very easy to do. And as well, if you get it too small, you could just pull the ribbon forward and create it a little bit larger. All right, loop number 3 on the right side. Twist the ribbon. I'm going to fold that over, pinch it in the center, that same 14 inches, scrunch it right there in the middle. Now I have all of my loops formed. Now that wire and the ribbon is what makes it so easy to create beautiful bows. And that red velvet does have a wired edge. So take a full-size pipe cleaner, wrap it around the back, twist it a couple of times, and that's going to hold those loops for you now. Now I want to match up that tail to the other tail so I know where I can cut it off from this spool, and it should be around 16 inches because that's how we measured the first tail. So I'm just going to lay that out, and I'm going to cut that ribbon off from the spool, leaving that 16-inch tail. I'm not going to bother with the ends of the tails yet. I'll do that later. But now I have completed my base. Now all I'm going to do is create the top piece that's going to go on top of that, and that's going to be the traditional red plaid. Now these two paired up together are very beautiful, very traditional. The velvet ribbon along with the beautiful plaid with the gold trim. Okay, so you could see that was not that difficult once you understand the construction of the bow, how to fold over your loops. It's not that difficult. All right, let's move on to the plaid. Now, I'm going to start with a 16-inch tail. We're going to have long tails on this wreath. The bow is going to be at 6 o'clock, so I want my ribbons to trail down from the wreath. Pinch my tail right there. All right, that's the beginning of my bow. Now, I am going to do these loops around 13 inches because I want them to be a little bit smaller. All right, so you see how I pinch it? Now I fold it over, pinch it, pushing that ribbon right in between my fingers there in the center, making sure I have the right side of my ribbon up. If you pinched it and folded it over, it should be the right side up. Twist my ribbon. Now this ribbon, it pretty much both sides look the same, but I want you to get into the habit of folding over and twisting. So I'm going to have you do that here, because most ribbons have a good side. You may as well get into a good habit with twisting the ribbon. All right, so the same 13 inches on the left side, twist my ribbon. Now I'm going to do the second loop on the left side. I'm going to pinch it in the center, match it up. Are my loops? Nope, it was a little bit big, so I pulled back on my ribbon a little bit. Did you see me do that? Very easy to make your adjustments while you're doing your bow. All right, so see how I have a nice tight hold right in the middle? That's holding everything together. Okay, now we're going to twist. Fold it over. Now again, if you want to measure every loop, that's fine. Just place your ribbon down by your measuring mat. Or you can just measure it up and make sure everything matches the first loop that you actually did measure at 13 inches. Twist your ribbon. Now we're going to go to the left side and do loop number 3 on the left. Fold it over. Estimate the 13 inches by looking at the other loops or measure like I just showed you. Either or, you could do it both ways. Whatever you feel most comfortable doing. I think that after you really get accustomed to this bow, you'll feel comfortable doing the eyeballing of the loops like I do. But notice I do check. Am I on track? Are my loops pretty symmetrical? Okay, loop number 3 on the right side. Always remembering to do the twist before you fold it over. All right, now I'm going to do something a little bit extra here on this one. I'm going to create one single loop on each side that's going to rest right on the 3 loops. And this is so easy to do. Twist my ribbon, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, maybe like 12 inches. I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to have that one loop sitting right there where my hand is. Okay? So I form my loop, pinch it in the center, scrunch it up with my fingers, and now I have one single loop resting on top of the 3 loops. This is going to give you a fuller, more interesting looking bow. Twist. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This is so easy. You're going to fold it over. This time it's going to be around 12 inches. But you could just eyeball it and make it a little bit smaller than those 13-inch loops. Match it up to the other single loop that you made on the other side. And now look what you have. 3 loops with the single loop resting right on top. This is going to make a nice full bow. Take a full-size pipe cleaner at this point. Wrap it around, holding tightly until your pipe cleaner is completely wrapped around, and then pull it very tightly and give it a couple of good twists. Now all of those loops are secure. It's not that difficult to make this bow. All right, so now what I want to do is finish off this bow. And I'm going to create one single loop going right down the middle. So what I do is I twist my ribbon so I have the right side up. I'm simply going to curl under a one single loop, just like that. I'm going to show you a couple times. Curl it under, take my thumb and press that loop down. I'm going to do it again. Curl it under into a single loop going right down the middle. I want to say it's about a 6-inch loop, if that helps. Curl it under, take my thumb and hold that little loop that you made underneath. And then I take my other fingers and I scrunch it up underneath there. Now I have a single loop there. I'm holding it tightly. Next, I'm going to reach around the back of the bow, and I have that long tail from where I secured all those loops. I'm going to take that tail, poke it right through that center loop. I'm going to reach around. I trade hands, holding the bow with the other hand now, pulling that pipe cleaner through, bringing it around the back. And what you just did there was secured that center loop by using the pipe cleaner tails that were in the back. Give it a good twist. We're going to go ahead and snip that off because we're going to be marrying up this bow with the red velvet bow, and I don't want that pipe cleaner to be prohibiting me from getting a nice flush application. All right, so now we have the tail on the top, and then we have the tail on the bottom. So what I want to do now is just go ahead and place them together, cut it off. It's going to be 16 inches. But I have this tail on the top, and I need to get it on the bottom. So I'm just going to do a little gentle fold of that ribbon, and I'm going to poke it right through that center loop. This is going to enable me to marry up my two tails and finish that bow. You see how I did that? Now we have a very beautiful traditional Christmas plaid bow. We are going to finish the tails, but I'll be doing that later. And this is a nice wired ribbon, so it's going to hold its shape very well. Okay, very nice, very pretty. Okay, so now we're going to take our base velvet bow. We're going to separate the tails. I'm going to be placing that plaid bow right on top of it. I'll get my pipe cleaner ready, a full-size one. Now I'm going to place that red velvet bow in my hand. And notice how I place my hand down the center, separating the tails, because my pipe cleaner is going to go right in between the tails. Okay, now I'm going to put my plaid bow right on top. I'm going to press those two together, separating the tails there. See how my hand goes right between the tails? Now I'm going to align those two bows. I want to press them very firmly together and align them center to center of that bow. Now you can see these look very beautiful together, very Christmassy. Now I'm going to take that tail. I do have a nice long tail on that velvet bow. So I'm going to go ahead and take that tail on the velvet bow. I'm going to pop it right through that center loop. And this is the way I'm going to connect those two together. I pull it around the back, get a nice firm hold of my bow again, pull it and twist it. Now both of those bows are one. Give it a good twist. Now my tails are going to be too short to wrap around my wreath frame, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. And then I will take a full-size pipe cleaner and again, pop it through that center loop. And that's how I'm going to attach this beautiful bow to the 6 o'clock position on that wreath. Now, of course, you could make this bow for this wreath and any type of ribbon that you like. Maybe you'd like to do it all in a red velvet, or you'd like to pair that up with something other than a plaid. That's fine. But I think that mixing bows really creates a beautiful look for a wreath. So if you're up to it, take a piece of practice ribbon and start practicing. And I think you'll find it's not that difficult. Just watch carefully, listen carefully, and practice. Okay, so 6 o'clock position. Now, when I place my bow, I place it more toward the inside of the wreath than toward the lower part of the wreath. I want that bow to sit right in that little nook somewhere between the inside and the mid part of the wreath, if that makes sense. I don't want it toward the bottom. I want it to kind of sit cradled in the bottom of that wreath, if that makes sense. And then all those beautiful tails will just be hanging down. So I attach it by pressing my fingers through all of that greenery, reach underneath, feel for the pipe cleaners, pull it through, and give it a few twists. And that will secure that beautiful bow to the wreath. Now, it's actually pretty, just like it is, just with all the greenery and the plaid and the velvet. Oh, so pretty. But we are going to add a little bit more to the wreath. And again, this is all completely, totally up to you, how much you want to put on your wreath or how little. Now, we'll continue to fluff the bow and place it exactly like we want it in a little bit. And the beauty of this type of wreath, this faux evergreen wreath, is that you can move those evergreen pieces around to accommodate where you want to place the loops of your bow. And I really love that. Okay, so here we have the pine cones. And again, I did soak them in vinegar and water. You'll see a number of different recipes, if you will, on how to do this and how to mix the vinegar and water, but it's really quite simple. You're just trying to make sure that, these pine cones, that if you pick them up off the ground yourself, are bug-free. You can also purchase pine cones in bags and Hobby Lobby, You could get it in the autumn department, or you could get it in the Christmas department. Now, I'm going to advise to you, because of the kind of the weird shape and the bulkiness of pine cones, I'm going to show you a really easy way to attach your pine cones to your wreath, other than gluing. Take a long piece of wire, I want to say maybe 14 inches, something like that, and then take your wire and poke it through the bottom, around the bottom, in between the little pine cone pieces, if you want to know what you call those. But anyway, put your wire around it, twist it, and then you could take that and reach through the evergreen, the greenery, and just attach it to the wreath wire. And those will stay on very well if you do it like that. Just use a green floral wire. That'll work just great. Remember the direction of the elements that you're putting on your wreath. Everything goes in kind of a clockwise fashion. All right, so I have my little red berries, and I'm going to dissect these stems of berries and just pull off sections and place it around the wreath. Now, some of my berry clusters are bigger than others. That's up to you, however you want to decorate your Christmas wreath. And then I took some smaller berry sections and put those around in little places that needed a pop of color. But again, you do you. If you want to emulate exactly the way I made my wreath, just freeze the video. At the beginning, I show you a very good view of the wreath in its entirety. And then just do a screenshot of that. And then you could just have it on your phone and you can see exactly where I placed everything if you're new to wreath making, if you're more comfortable with that. Otherwise, just do as you like. You might like to use berries that are a little bit plumper. They sell those as well in the craft stores. And Dollar Tree has some really pretty ones that are more plump than these, and they have the coating, the frosty coating. They're really pretty. I thought about using those on here, but I ended up using these red ones, that more of a bright, rich red. So I'm just going to go around the wreath, and wherever I feel I need a little extra pop of color, I'm going to place that in there. Now, I hot glue those in, and that's how I secure those to the wreath. Now, last but not least, at 12 o'clock, now remember the bow's at 6. Directly above that, at 12 o'clock, I'm going to take a full-size pipe cleaner. I'm going to feed it through that wreath frame. Now, remember to snip off any of those wires that might be protruding from the back of the wreath, from the ones that you wrapped around the pine cones, just so it doesn't scratch your door. Because depending upon the thickness or the weight of the wire, you don't want that, something like that, to scratch your door. I used a little bit thicker wires, so I snipped those off with a wire cutter. And now look at that. It's a beautiful, beautiful traditional wreath. Very lovely. Okay, let's finish the tails. Now, I do like to layer my tails. My base bow, being the velvet, is going to be the longest tail. And then my plaid's going to be just a little bit shorter because I like the layered look of that. And then I'm going to match up the other side just the same. And there you have it. A very beautiful, traditional Christmas wreath. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. And leave me your comments. Let me know what you think of this one. And as well, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, and practice making a bow, please. I want you to understand the joy of creating bows. Okay? Until next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.